Welcome. So today I'm going to talk about this one little thing. It's missing probably if you're still struggling with losing weight. And this one thing is you have to stop focusing on what you need to do and instead focus on who you need to be. And what I mean by this is, yes, you have to know your basics, and you can go back and listen to last week's episode on managing your meds. You need to know those basics. If you don't have those basics, then you're just going to keep doing what you did before, and that never works. That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I did that for 30 years. All I knew was dieting. All I knew it was the food and the exercise. But if you want to know what does work, listen to that episode on managing your meds. Those are basics. Those are so important. That's what I use to help me lose 100 pounds. But I also used this. And this helps me even in my day-to-day life, with my business, with my relationship, with my husband, with my kids. And it's focusing on the be line. Who do I want to be? And it's really like looking at, especially like, let's take, for example, the losing weight. I could come from the place when I was 30 years ago, all I saw was my past, everything that didn't work, everything that was wrong with me, everything I did wrong. So I'm on a diet and I make one mistake. I fell off the wagon, like I always said, and my brain went to what it always saw, the past of I can't do it. You failed again. You fell off the wagon again. What's the point? So do you imagine how you're going to get to losing that weight if that's all your brain is feeding you? That's why we end up not getting to our goal. So what you need to do instead is really like write out that person that has lost her weight. What is she thinking? What is she doing? What is she putting out as a protocol, as a plan? All those things, like you need to write it out. And that is so important because then you have to keep reminding yourself of that and keep redirecting your brain, because your brain is wired right now to focus on the past. So your GPS, so I like analogies a bit. So right now you're wanting to lose weight. Your GPS is set on this jaggedy road of weight loss that's never worked before. That's the way your brain, you have that goal of, losing weight. So that's where your car is headed. But your car is being on the path of it's not going to work. All the things you did wrong, that's the path you're going to take. It's not going to work. So instead, let's get a whole new path with a whole new GPS system in place. And that's by looking at what is it? Who do I want to be? So for me, and I remind myself of this every day because, what I teach you, I still use all the time, but it's just so much easier and it comes naturally and it doesn't take me off like it used to. But I still get tempted. Don't get me wrong, but I use these strategies so that I keep my weight off. I lost that 100 pounds 12 years ago by doing all this. And so that future self, so when I was wanting and working on losing that weight, I've envisioned and I focused on my future self. When she writes her plan out, her 24-hour plan out, she commits to it no matter what. No matter what her brain is going to tell you, because your brain is right now wired for all those negative thoughts and feelings of you can't do it. So I then redirect. My future self tells me, yeah, I hear you, brain, but we're working on a different way. We're figuring this out. My future self, when she goes out for eating with friends and the nachos are ordered, my future self knows this is going to happen. It's not a surprise. And I'm like, yeah, I planned this and I'm going to have it. Or let's say it was a surprise. My future self goes, you know what, when things happen that are a surprise, when food has come up that I'm tempted to eat, my brain is telling me, my future self tells me and does that, hey, she's not going to have it because she didn't plan it. It's okay. You're not going to die. You can have it tomorrow. Just plan it in, or plan it in the next time that you go out, whatever it is. But my future self then says, hey, what's more important is being with my friends. The food is there, but I'm out with friends. So it's really like, what does your future self do, think, say, feel? You know, my future self, when it comes to getting out and moving, my future self, when it hears my brain going, and it was minus 30 to minus 40 Celsius here. So my brain, you know, it's telling you, oh, you know, I don't like the cold. So I just want to stay warm and I don't want to do anything. It's like hibernating in my cave. But my brain, my future self will say, no, Karen, I know that's how you're feeling, but you always feel better when you move. You'll never regret that, but you will regret sitting there. So it's that, what would you be thinking, saying, doing, feeling? I want you to get that out. And if you're struggling with that one, like, find somebody that's done it, gotten to where you want to be. What are they doing other than, I have people that have come to me that have lost their weight, but are still restricting and depriving themselves and like holding on tight to not overeat. Don't follow those people. But the people that are just enjoying life, not having food consuming their head all the time, eating like a natural, like, eater. I say normal eater because that's what I used to say. I said, I want to eat like a normal person. What does that person do? And then really redirecting your brain. Your brain is, like I said, wired to bring up all that the past. But I want you to lead yourself, lead your car on the path of your future self. That's where you're going to end up losing that weight for the last time. That old path hasn't gotten you to where you want to go. Abandon the path. Get on this new path. It does work. But sometimes what I want you to know is sometimes you have to act it before you are it. And what that means is, you know, there's things that you may need to do that future self does that you don't, it just doesn't feel good to you. Like, it doesn't feel right. It's not natural. It's not there. You just have to act as if that is there. And eventually it will just become natural. Like for me, I don't give in to the ice cream like I used to. And don't get me wrong, that was a process. It wasn't just one day I said, I'm not going to have it. I've got this future version of me that doesn't eat it. No, every time my thoughts were of, okay, you want the ice cream. Okay, Karen, do you really want it? What do you really need in that moment? Like, that's the other thing. My future self looked after me. My future self talks kindly to me. My future self looks at, what do I need that will help me for my long-term, like, best interest? Because that's not where we've been going. We've been focusing on what hasn't worked, our instant gratification brain. Let's focus the other way. And what might help you even more is really looking at you as a nurse. You didn't know a lot of stuff when you went to school and then got out on the floor. Like, yeah, you learned a bit of it, you know, that dressing change or the needle, but it was practice. Yeah, you sort of knew it, but sort of didn't. You got on the floor and you couldn't go to your past self, right? The past self was, you suck at it in class. Oh, yeah, you're not doing a great enough job. Like, that's where my brain used to go. Oh, how are you going to do it? You have hardly done it. No, I went from my future self, like, hey, I'm going to figure this out. A nurse that's out there working on the floor has figured this out, that is given enough that now it's just natural. She doesn't have to freak out about it and dread it. Like, I used to dread it in the beginning. But my brain, I keep focusing on, okay, look at, the more you practice, Karen, the more you're going to do it, instead of, oh, you know, how are you going to ever do this? You don't do a lot of things well. Well, this is one of them. No, I didn't do things well because I just focused on all the negative. Let's focus on the positive. Let's redirect our brain to, that's a future self thought. Future self thinks you're figuring it out. Nothing's perfect. You're never going to be perfect. This is where you go. Like, that's another thought my future self tells me all the time. There's no such thing as perfect. Remind yourself of that. Redirect yourself. Your brain is going to always go back to what it has been practiced on over and over. So now you have to just practice this over and over, and it will get you to where you want to go. So if this is something that you need help with and support with, or just need help finding who is that person, reach out to me, KarenShabel.com, and you can book a free call on that website. And we can just really explore and help you in figuring this out so you can lose this weight for the last time. So if this is like really something that you're wanting for this year, and I know it is because you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't, but if it is, I really encourage you, get out a pen and paper, write out what that future self does, because if you don't, and you do lose your weight white knuckling it, like I did many years ago, you get down to your goal weight and you gain it back again because you haven't changed your direction of what you're focusing on. You'll lose this weight. You won't have changed inside of you. You'll still look at all the wrong, all the bad, all the negative, and then think, well, I've never kept the weight off before, so how am I going to keep it off this time? And so wing, you go back again because you're not living from a future self. That's what I did. And what I did to change all that is doing this work. It works if you work it. That's one of the things that I've learned. And yeah, change isn't easy, but is it worth it? Oh yeah. I'm here to teach you how to lose weight for the last time. And if I can do it, you can do. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.